everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of 31 Days of Indie Horror. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got my awesome special guest. He's been here I know you were here last year, and I don't think you were there for the first year, but I know you were here for the second. Were you here for the first year
I
of 31?
don't think I was on the first year, but I was definitely on the second.
Yeah, so you did the Alien Hunger, I think it was for the first second year, and then this is the third year, and we're really excited to have you. Welcome, James L. Edwards. How you doing?
Real good. How you doing? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing great. Now, so James and I were talking, and the one thing he said was, please don't pick something bad, terrible that I'm not going to enjoy, kind of thing. And I was thinking about that. We've kind of been a little rough on you at times and stuff, and like stuff you've either already seen but you didn't like, or things you didn't see and you definitely didn't like. As a case with we both didn't really think Alien Hunger was the best, but I think we give it a pretty decent review though. For it. But anyway, we're here to talk about Sonny Boy, which was something you actually recommended and everything. And before we begin, I want to let everybody know this is not like horror. I don't even think it really can be classified necessarily in the horror genre. It's got horror elements, maybe.
Got horror elements. I don't like to kind of it follows multiple genres. How's that? It's a dark comedy, horror, drama, almost like a after school special kind of thing.
It does. It has it's got like the Frankenstein pitchfork people kind of thing. It's got it's got just kind of the freak of nature kind of creepy person character that you kind of see in a lot of these horror films and stuff. Right. So I can sort of see it. It's like more thriller, I guess. But see, I guess when you can't really define something as horror, you call it thriller. Like people say Silence of the Lambs is a thriller. I say that's a horror film myself personally, but it terrifies me, but
exactly.
Right. And this sort of terrifies me that there could be like fucked up people like this, out there. So when was the first time you saw this movie?
I actually saw this probably when I was like, I'm going to say or I want to say I was in high school at the time or just graduating. That would make sense considering what was it? The movie came out in 89 and I graduated in 91. So yeah, I'd say probably around that time. I had just happened upon it on VHS in some mom and pop's video store. And just I was a huge Paul L. Smith fan, and the idea of David Carradine in drag with a shotgun on the cover, it's like, oh yeah, I'm sold. So
that's kind of funny. I think I told Paul about this, and he said he had remembered the trailer for it and stuff, but I don't think he ever saw it. I suggested him watch it at some point. Well,
love it, yeah.
And that was before I saw it. Now I definitely suggest for him to watch it, or anybody to watch it, because it is definitely not your typical film. And I sort of like that I really have never seen. Nope, I can't. I take that back. I have seen a movie close to this, but like more mainstream is Raising Arizona.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, a lot more friendly. It's a lot friendlier film than Sonny Boy is. But yeah, I can definitely see that.
Right. Like I was describing it to somebody and the beginning of the movie and stuff, and they're like, Raising Arizona? And I was like, okay, well, yeah, I could see that. Like the stealing of the baby, because that's literally how the movie begins is Brad Dourif. That's how you pronounce his name, right? Dourif?
Dorf.
Some people have said it like Dourif before, and I think I corrected them because I've always sort of known as Dorf, and I don't know. And then I started thinking, am I wrong? And have I been calling him the wrong name all my life? But I've always called him Brad Dourif. So yeah, who I've met actually at Texas Frightmare. He's really nice, good guy, very friendly to his fans. Taller than I expected.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I guess because Chucky is small,
assume that he's small too, and it's like, no.
No, he's not. He's a big, very tall guy. Very nice, but very tall. And so so he comes in and he starts attacking these people because he tries to steal their car. Basically, that's all he wants is their car,
Right.
and they're not going to give it to him. Neither of them say, "Hey, there's my baby in the back."
Right.
Nobody even
Right.
says anything, but doesn't
Did
matter
you
because
did you happen to notice who the wife was? No,
no,
it's Samantha Phillips from Phantasm 2.
I've never. You're gonna hate me. I've never seen Phantasm 2. I've seen
Uh,
Phantasm 1, but
mhm.
I've never seen any of the sequels, and it's not because I didn't want to or whatever. There's just so many movies I can watch in my life. It's just my friend brought over the first one. I liked it. I thought it was okay. Even though I met Angus Scrimm before I saw it, then after I saw it, I was like, damn it, I wish I saw it before his
Right.
death and stuff, and I could have chatted with him about it or whatever because it didn't. But he was nice. Also very nice. Also very tall.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's the tall man.
Yeah. Exactly. Kind
Uh,
of goes with the territory.
goes with the name, of course.
Hmm.
So he attacks the couple and steals the car and comes back and I don't know what was he mad about? What was Slew mad about?
Well, you have to keep it. Okay, so just to kind of give the audience who hasn't seen the movie to kind of give it a basis. Slew, played by Paul L. Smith from Popeye, Crime Wave, Haunted Honeymoon, basically illegally runs this New Mexico town in 1970. This small town of Harmony, population 500, and Weasel, played by Brad Dourif, is kind of his right hand man. He goes out and commits crimes and steals stuff from him or for him. Well, when he steals the convertible from this couple that he kills, he doesn't realize there's a baby in the back. And the thing that set Slew off, I think, aside from him just being a complete psychopath, is the fact that the TV that he stole not only was a black and white, but it also was from the Harmony Hotel, which Slew owns. And
Right.
we, in general, is just a fuck up. So I think it was just a natural reaction for him to just blow up. We'll mark that with the fact that the genius didn't realize there was a baby in the back, so it caused all kinds of trouble.
Well, I thought he was like mad about the car, so now it makes more sense that he was mad about the TV. So I don't remember
Mm.
hearing him yell about the TV, and I was a little confused, like why is he why is I thought he did his job, I thought he did, I would have committed
So
him for
it was the TV that set him off at first, and then the thing that's amazing about that scene is that's when we're first introduced to Pearl, played by David Carradine in drag. And the thing that's great about that, basically, Pearl forces Slew to keep the baby and raise them as their own, and they have very interesting ways of raising this kid. But
Mhm.
the thing that I always love about the dynamic of the film is the fact that at no point during the film, not anyone in the film references the fact that, hey, this is a dude in a dress. Everyone, including the rookie deputy that comes in, that gets blown up later, that's like ready to put them down, has no question. Oh yeah, this is just Slew's wife. Nobody ever references the fact that this is a dude in a dress. Like 5 o'clock shadow, obvious wig, hairy leg, David Carradine doing this character.
I wonder if it was originally written for a woman to play, and then they were just like, let's just get David Carradine, you know?
Well, see, I'm curious about the whole film is very curious to me in the sense that the director Robert Martin Carroll, to my knowledge, only directed one other feature film, and I can find very limited information about that. Apparently, it was a movie he made a couple of years later called Baby Love, and it was also known as Babies for Sale. Uh, and
Sounds like something he would do. Yeah.
Right. I couldn't find much information on that. But the writer, Graham Whiffler, a couple of years later would go on to write Dr. Giggles. And then a couple of years after that, he didn't remain active for a good decade, and then ended up writing and directing a film. What was it? I think it was called Neighborhood Watch, I could be wrong. Let me take
Is
a look
that
at the
that's not the Ben Stiller movie, right?
not the Ben Stiller one. No, that was just The Watch. This was from
Oh yeah, that's
2000.
right.
Yeah, so I guess it was a good 13 years where he just kind of remained dormant. I mean, it looks like he did a lot of music videos. He did music videos for Sparks and Oingo Boingo, Red Hot Chili Peppers. But yeah, to my knowledge, that's all he really did as a writer.
Mm-hmm. Well, and yeah, so it's interesting. Like Pearl and Slew have the weirdest relationship I've ever seen. It's very rednecky, very like white trash,
Right,
kind of like relationship. But they're, you know, I mean, it's their relationship. You know what I mean? Like
right.
you can tell, like they've been like this like since the beginning of whatever, and so when Pearl wants to raise the baby, and at first Slew wants to get rid of it because, I mean, that kind of makes sense. Like, people are going to be asking questions, like the rookie cop asking
Well,
questions.
you have to keep in mind too, with this, the entirety of this film takes place over the course of 15 years. And one thing that really impressed me as a film is the fact that the looks of the characters literally change throughout the course of the film. Like you'll
Hmm.
notice that was it Pearl starts wearing gray wigs. Was it Weasel's look changes drastically?
He
It's just
does. And
it's a really
also, so did what's his name? The other guy that was with Weasel.
Sidney Lastik's character.
Yeah,
What was
Charlie,
it?
right?
Yeah, Charlie P. Yeah.
Charlie P. He starts getting a freaking like gray mustache and
Uh
stuff,
huh.
And I actually loved him. I remember Paul said something about him, like he had some sort of like kind of weird face, that like everybody knows him from that, from just his face. And I don't recall him necessarily. I don't know if I know him from anywhere, but I know
You
the
would have
name.
remembered him as the pet shop owner in what was it, Alligator.
Alligator. Okay.
Yeah, he also what was it, for me, I don't think you've seen this one, but for me, he's great in the Jerry Reed Dom DeLuise movie, Hot Stuff.
I've heard of it. I think I've
Mm.
seen the cover of it at like the in the stores and the rental
I mean, he's
stores.
he actually worked with Brad Dourif on he was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He's Mr. Fromm and Carrie. He was in Freeway, Deep
He was in
Cover. He's
Cool as Ice.
what's that?
He was in Cool as Ice.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah, as Roscoe.
Oh my God, you remember that? That's funny.
I
I
Storehouse of useless information.
I know,
He was
jeez,
in
but
what was it, The Curse 2. He did a ton of stuff.
so yeah, so that's great. And so he was fantastic in it. And then so I really want to talk real quick about Rose. Because the woman who played Rose, Alexandra Powers, I went to look her up and I was like, oh, she's gorgeous. She had a at first I swear to God I thought she was Patricia Arquette for a
I,
second. And so I was like, Patricia Arquette played a sort of a similar role to her to later playing Alabama. It felt like a similar thing, but no, it was this woman Alexandra Powers who, I mean, I've seen Dead Poets Society. I don't remember her in it. She apparently played herself in The Player. Don't really remember her doing that either. Just seen that recently, but don't. I don't think I've seen Rising Sun with Wesley Snipes,
but
but what?
the I had really remembered her from, honestly. I remembered her in Cast a Deadly Spell, that HBO HP Lovecraft thing that they did, and uh, was she was she? Did you say she was in Dead Poet Society? Is that
Yeah,
right?
she was in Dead Poet Society.
You remember her in that, but just barely.
Yeah. But here's an interesting fact about her that I just found out because I looked at her career and it went from like she stopped working in 1999 or so, right, for a little bit, and then just started back up just recently,
Right.
like probably 2019 or so. But here's like I was like, oh, so did she have a baby? Because usually, generally, about that time, it's okay. I want to raise a family or whatever. Instead, she didn't have a baby. Instead, she went into Scientology.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Scientology got her, and apparently she married a guy that was really big in Scientology and ended up just doing a lot of work there and stuff, and does a lot of stuff with Scientology. Which, you know what, whatever. Everybody has their own religion or not. You know that I don't care what you I don't care what you do as long as you don't try to tell me that I need to do
Right.
something or whatever. But yeah, she apparently did that, so that's what she's really up to. And I don't particularly condone act like I don't really like it that actors kind of go into that, because a lot of them, just like her, they kind of leave filmmaking and acting. And like for a while Katie Holmes was gone,
Right.
and doing that because she was doing stuff in Scientology. And I would rather them, working on and doing film, even though some still do. Tom Cruise and Aaliyah Remini did both for a while,
Right.
still acted and stuff before she left. But I was kind of sad that, she had been gone, because she's sort of, I really liked her in this, and I was like, I'd love to see more of her films. Hopefully she really is back, because the last thing she was actually, never mind. I thought she was. Last thing
Yeah.
she did was in 2001, and she hasn't come back yet. But it was a movie called Double Down, that Jason Priestley was in. I don't know if
Hmm.
you've ever heard of that. You
I'm not
know,
familiar. No.
yeah, I want to actually buy all of the I'm like, one of the things I'm collecting now are all of the Jason Priestley movies, or going to. I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm going to. I'm going to collect, all the old Jason Priestley DVDs and shit.
I can only condone two Jason Priestley films. I'm sorry. At that
Which
point,
ones?
um, I love Buffy the Vamp. No, actually, that was Luke Perry. Never mind.
That
So
was Luke Perry.
I can only condone one. He did a film that was a weird mix of Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump called Cold Blooded. That
Yeah.
Michael.
I was going to buy that at some point.
I
Yeah.
that movie's phenomenal, and he's really good in it too. So,
Um, there was a really silly movie that I remember where it was take place, I think, in the uh I don't know, whenever Marilyn Monroe was around, and it was about him courting, like bringing Marilyn Monroe around and stuff. It was called Calendar Girl, and
okay.
I remember that being funny as hell. So I want to own that at some point for sure. But I mean, it's just a thing where I don't know if I'll ever watch all of the Jason Priestley movies. Just having all of them would be
Sure. I
fun.
will say he did a really fantastic episode of Masters of Horror that Joe Dante directed. I believe it was called The Screwfly Solution. And I loved that. I thought he was great in it, and I loved the story. So I think it was him.
He's a pretty good actor. It's just, it's really funny because from what I understood, like he was living with Brad Pitt, for
Mhm.
a while, and then he got Beverly Hills 90210, and Brad Pitt got the movie career,
Right.
or whatever, and so I just think it's really funny that he did went to TV. And I guess back then TV is where you went to like die pretty much as an
Right.
actor, because you didn't that's all you got stuck in at that point.
Mhm.
It
Well, it's
was.
not like now where you can bounce back and forth between TV and film. Once back then, if you were a TV star, it was very rare where you were going to get a film career.
Unless you're George Clooney. Then George
Right.
Clooney was the first one to like do that,
Mm.
right? So, but anyway, yeah. So, it's fun to see all those things. But anyway, to go back to the movie, because of course we get sidetracked, um, a little bit. Let's see who else. Sonny Boy himself. So you see like what, three or four different Sonny Boys. You see him as a
Mhm.
baby, then you see him as a 6-year-old, then you see him as like a 12-year-old, then you see him as sort of an adultish.
Right. The adult one was Michael Boston, if I'm not mistaken, in his first role.
Yeah, he was great. Like he
Yeah,
was
he did a good job.
fantastic.
You know who else I loved in it too, as Doc Bender was Conrad Janis, who I don't know if you're probably too young to remember this, but he Mindy's dad on Mork and Mindy.
Oh, I remember seeing Mork and Mindy when I was a kid on like
Mm-hmm.
was it TV Land or whatever on Nickelodeon.
Yeah,
And
I'm old
so
enough to remember when they first aired, so I grew up with
right. So
that.
yeah, so me, I see the reruns, and you're
Hmm.
watching well, I mean, I probably the originals were probably around. I mean, I was born 82, so it wasn't
Right.
too far away, you know. But yeah, I was young when they were airing. I didn't watch
Right.
and wasn't so Mork and Mindy, and wasn't that a spinoff from like Laverne and Shirley?
It was actually a spinoff from Happy Days.
Happy Days. Okay.
Episode shows up on Happy Days, and it got such great reception they ended up spinning it off to Mork and Mindy.
That's Mork from Ork. Lord, poor Robin Williams. I miss him.
Yeah, same here.
He's one of the few like actors who I remember where I was when I heard the news that he died. You know,
Right.
it's him and like Paul Walker. You know, because they like have like really strong. Even though Paul Walker wasn't my huge. I wasn't a huge fan of his, but still, it impacted me. Um, let's see. The deputy, like the rookie, I guess,
Yeah.
I liked him.
Yeah,
Um,
he's good.
he got fucking blew up, man. Like I was not expecting that, you know. But I love how the sheriff just kind of was like, yeah, I'm not gonna touch this, like, and so he didn't even, when when he got blew up, I guess they just didn't kind of like move on with it, or whatever, like that they didn't investigate it. They were just like,
I
you know,
think at that point, with Slew running the whole town, at that point it was very easy to cover stuff up. I mean, you're talking about a population of 50 people, or I'm sorry, 500 people. That's pretty good. That's pretty easy to cover up.
well, I'm just wondering about that. Like, how does one get to own a town? Like this stuff, you see it all the time in like indie films and everything and whatnot. I've never actually heard of anybody actually running. Like I watched one movie where it was like some young drug dealer guy that owned the town, and he
Right.
like got all the like any money that these people made or whatever they had to give to him, or he would cut their power off their house and do all these other things to them and stuff. And I was like, how does one get to do that in a town? And why doesn't like the mayor or whatever come in and go, hey, get out of here?
Well, but if you remember, the mayor was starting to crack down in this, and they unleashed Sonny Boy on him.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So
Which
yeah,
is funny thing. Like I said, I grew up with this movie, and I would literally put it in my top 20. Literally, I absolutely adore this movie. But growing up with this film, I had it on VHS, I had it on Laserdisc, and it never got a DVD release. So, I mean, literally, I was like kind of at the mercy of either my VHS or my Laserdisc. When Shout Factory brought out the Sonny Boy Blu-ray, I was incredibly excited. I bought it, and what was great about it was there were scenes on the Shout Factory disc that I had never seen that weren't part of the Laserdisc or the DVD, or I'm sorry, the Laserdisc for the VHS release. So it was almost like rediscovering the movie. And it was one of those cases too where the scenes that they cut, I don't understand what they cut for that initial release because they're fantastic.
okay, so I watched it on Tubi because you showed me it was on Tubi and everything. And did you watch it on Tubi at all? Did you see what cut it was?
Make sure it was the same cut, and it is. It's the same cut as the Shout Factory release.
Okay, so
But
it's got the scenes that they originally cut added back in, right?
right, yeah. So, like to give you an example, some of the scenes that weren't on the VHS and the Laserdisc releases were the whole scene with Slew. What was it? Cutting out Sonny Boy's tongue at I think what 6. That's not it. That wasn't in there. It's mentioned, but the actual scene where he does it isn't in there. The aftermath scene where the what was it? The town finds the mayor killed, and Sidney Lassick and Brad Dourif are basically kind of hinting around, hey, this could happen to you, kind of thing. That stuff wasn't in there. There's a couple other scenes that were just like, they're great scenes, and I didn't understand why they wouldn't have included those. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, there's a real brief cut that, to me, made no sense. You know the scene where Sonny Boy bites off Brad Dourif's thumb?
Right.
In the VHS and the Laserdisc version, Dourif freaks out. But just to kind of show how bizarre the character is, if you remember in this version, he's almost like he yells when he first bites him, but then he's giggling about the fact that he took his thumb off.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that
That
wasn't
wasn't in there. Wow.
yeah.
Funny.
So yeah, it's like I said, it really gives a different dynamic of the film.
It does, and I actually really like the fact that he was kind of like he was so sadistic in a way that
Yeah,
he thought it was hilarious that the guy bit his thumb off and stuff and everything like and then he said, like the doc said I could I could fix that for you, and he's like, oh yeah, you're gonna give me like a monkey's thumb or something, or like the guy kept joking on him about whatever monkey stuff and everything, and at the end he gives him a monkey tongue.
yeah. Doc Bender was apparently disgraced years ago for putting monkey parts in people. So
Apparently he still does.
right.
My monkey here approves. My I don't know, whatever you call this guy. But yeah, he approves. But no, I was weird, man. Like that was I like everything about this movie was weird. This movie did not have a part where I'm like, oh, this seems normal.
It's very unusual. And I like that. Even the good guys in this have these weird quirks. I love the fact. What was it? The leader of the mob, Sandy. What was her name? Sabina Gersak, I believe. I love the fact that she's this beautiful white trash girl, but yet she's got these horrifying Captain Spaulding teeth throughout the whole thing. Like, it's
At first I was like, oh, she's cute, and then she opened her mouth, and I was like, no, thank you. I'm like I was a little, but I mean, because she was beautiful, or whatever at first. She still is. I mean, whatever. Some people like teeth like that. Whatever. I'm not teeth knocking.
Teeth shame.
Teeth shaming anybody. But yeah, she was such a strange character because she was the one that was feeding him beer, right? And I was like,
right.
I was like, wow, she want him drunk,
No,
or
away from him.
Yeah, she was trying to get away from him, but at first I was like, why does she keep offering him more and more? Like, it was like it's literally like a dog or a animal, like you want to keep them, at bay. So you're like, here, have some of this, and then distract them so you can run off. But so he was, and man, so okay, I will say this, for a movie that was made in 1989. It had some like very post-apocalyptic like feel to me. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, it amazes me. I don't understand how they got the locations for this, because if you notice, almost every location, actually every location of the movie, just has this bizarre feel to it, like almost like they found this abandoned town and just decided, yeah, we're going to shoot here.
So yeah, like everything feels abandoned, or he escapes at one point and goes into this, what the fuck was it, like it looked like an old prison or something, like, or factory or something, like run like empty area, and I thought, oh good, he's
the biker's den where the
biker's den, but like he goes down there and you don't know it's a biker's den, basically you don't know what the fuck this thing is, and then he sees two bikers going at it. And so we get a little titty action there, which is kind of nice, like because there was no other nudity in the film, and so the biker comes running at the sees him, comes after him, and they start doing this, like it almost felt like jousting kind of thing, where she's got the knife and she's cutting him, until he picks her up and slams her down, and I was like, that's actually for like. I mean, this didn't feel like this had a lot of money,
No, like, not at all.
Yeah. So he picks her up and slams her, throws her on the ground, and then and then the other guy like fell or whatever because of like getting, I guess, her getting taken off like kind of threw off the balance or whatever and stuff. So he whatever. So the and then I was like, I thought she was gonna join the mob too or whatever because she didn't die from that or anything, did she?
No, no, but we
No.
never see.
Yeah, we never see them again,
Hmm.
which we didn't really need to. They
Right,
were sort of characters that served their purpose of like showing him like how cruel the world is when he got out there. That's I
right.
think that was the I think that was sort of the point of
Hmm.
a lot of this movie is that the world is cruel and especially to people who they think are different, or something.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's really just a Frankenstein retelling, and I think that's what works. It's almost like this white trash updated Frankenstein story.
It's a white trash Frankenstein. That should have been what it's called, white trash Frankenstein. But yeah, Sonny Boy uh and I don't even know like why did she name him Sonny Boy? Is there a reason? I didn't hear
I,
that.
I think that's just what I think you're digging too deep on that one.
You
I
think
think
there
this.
was just yeah, okay. I mean, I was I don't know, maybe I was
If you
looking
make
for
a
meaning.
question like that, I got to ask why they were wearing the masks during the tongue releasing scene. So
Well, I mean, I always thought like when I saw that, I was like, well, I mean, this movie was weird. So it just got weirder and weirder
right,
and shit. So I was just like, okay, I'm
mhm,
I'm going with it. This is not something I can show a lot of people. You know,
right,
they just wouldn't like it just because sort of it's sort of mean spirited in a way. Like even though it's
and
got a
yeah,
heart, you
hmm
know, it's got a heart, but it's mean spirited because
right.
of Slew. Even though he I don't know. Like, I want to say he loves Sonny Boy, but he really doesn't, you know?
I think it's one of those things where I don't necessarily think the character is built to love, but at the same token, he does have that moment at the end with Sonny Boy,
Right.
which is touching. Another thing that I find weird about the film, and I couldn't find any information about this, I have to assume that all of Sonny Boy's what is it narration throughout the film was added later. I don't think that was in Graham Whiffler's original script because there's another writer listed, Peter Desberg, who, to my knowledge, doesn't really have any other credits, but he's listed as additional dialogue. And the only thing I can think of is maybe the what was it? Maybe that voiceover wasn't originally included.
Hmm. That actually sort of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I was reading this on IMDb before, but in an interview, director Robert Martin Carroll
Mm-hmm.
explained that there were three moral lessons behind the film. First, someone doesn't deserve your love just because they say they love you. You know. Second, if there's good in a person, it'll eventually come out. And third, once you've messed up, unlike most movies, there's no real happy ending. You'll be a bit off. Um, you'll always be a bit off. And I liked there's one quote in it that I really liked, which was everybody is crazy, he just shows it more.
Right. Yeah, it is a great line too.
Yeah, I
So,
thought it was just a perfect for this movie. It was just perfect for that like that right there just sums up the whole movie, like he made everybody is crazy, just he shows it more. And that's because I mean if you basically were stolen, which you didn't know as a baby, you didn't know growing up that you were stolen unless somebody told you, or whatever, and then you were sort of raised and sort of like kept out of the way. You were kept in a, box basically at times. He was in a fucking box on his birthday. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like they're treating him like he's a pet or something, and that was a lot of what they did. And then, he grew up and he was beaten a lot and, had like scars and and like lashes and everything.
Well, that's
Uh,
but again, all he's ever known. I mean, it's one of those where I don't think that Sonny Boy's character receives love from anybody except for Pearl, and even that's rather bizarre. I think what was it? Slew's whole purpose of not killing the baby was the fact that A, he wanted to keep Pearl, and B, he saw it as an opportunity to create this monster.
Man, that one point I was so worried because even though I knew Sonny Boy was alive because he was narrating the movie, unless they
Right.
did a unless they did a whole what is it
American
like
Beauty.
I was thinking Sunset Boulevard where
Right.
he's dead and he's narrating the movie and then you find out he's dead, which oops, spoiler alert, but that movie's a little old. So if you haven't seen it by now, that's your fault
Right. Exactly.
for not seeing it. It's a very common. That's kind of it's like saying, "Oh, Jason's mother was the original killer in Friday the 13th."
Right.
Like if you
Exactly.
don't know this by now, then something might be wrong with you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but to go back, like yeah. So he kind of holds up. It almost felt like Lion King, pre-Lion King, before Lion
Yeah.
King when he came out. Where he's just like holding up the baby, and he's just like, and everything. And I was like, oh God, I thought he was gonna slam the baby down or do something or whatever, but he wanted he owned like that point, he owned. He wasn't it wasn't a family member now. It was property. He
Right.
like and that was the thing I think with Slew. That's what I felt with Slew was that he was a person who owned property. He owned the town, he owned Pearl, he owned, he didn't there was no love in anything. I
Right.
don't think there was any love in him and Pearl. There just was like, look, you have to do what I say because I
Right.
own the fucking town and I can fucking have you killed kind of
Well,
thing.
again, with this particular film, I think it's one of those things where it's just, in a lot of ways, especially for 1990 or 1989, it's just too damn weird for a lot of people. I mean, it's too damn weird for a lot of people now. But I mean, if I'm not mistaken, the movie was shot in '87,
Hmm.
and years to find a distributor because everybody's looking at it like I have no idea what the hell this is. Even Paul L. Smith supposedly didn't want anything to do with the film initially. The only reason that he signed up was after David Carradine and Brad Dourif signed up. He's like, well, they're getting some people in this. Let's maybe I should take this.
Yeah, I read also that Brad Dourif once referred to the movie as the first real heavy metal fable. He admitted that he didn't understand the movie, yet he was drawn to the strangeness.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. I also see in the and I had never heard this before. In the on the IMDb's trivia section, it's saying that rumor began circulating that the film's actual director was Ruggero Deodato of the Cannibal Holocaust, and the rumor was later proved to be false. I'd love to hear some background on that, how that came about.
How that rumor got started,
Right.
like yeah, I mean, I I love it when people say like you made a movie that you never made, and stuff. You're
Right.
just like, like okay, awesome. Like I think that Ruggero, I think is that how you say his name,
Yeah.
Ruggero or whatever. I think he gets credited for a lot of like movies that he didn't make and stuff too. Like a lot of rumors that because like after Cannibal Holocaust, anything sort of weird or sort of fucked up in a way, I think a lot of people attributed thoughts to him because
Mhm.
like he and I want to say Wes Craven too with uh, Last House on the Left and stuff like that. Those movies were sort of like banned and sort of like told like, oh my God, these are movies that will never,
Right.
see the light of day kind of thing. And it made people go, oh, what else have these guys
Oh
done?
yeah. I mean,
So
like that only draws up interest. It's perfect. So,
yeah.
oh,
So I would love to see what he had to say about that. Like, what did Ruggero think? Like Jesus, like, is everybody thinking I'm directing everything?
yeah, if he'd even heard the rumor, who knows? This film's kind of literally very underground. I mean, part of the problem too was when it did actually get a theatrical run, a lot of theaters after a couple of days pulled it because they just didn't understand what the hell it was supposed to be. A lot of places ended up giving it, had booked it for the week, and we're like, yeah, we're going to run it after a couple of days, and then we're done.
So did you listen to the commentary on
If
the
not,
Blu-ray?
no, I'll be honest with you, I didn't even realize there was a commentary until I popped it in to review it for tonight. Uh, I mean, like I said, I'd probably seen the movie 50 times, but this was the first time I realized that the Blu-ray had two audio commentaries. So I'm looking forward to checking those out.
Yeah, let me know and whatnot, like what the I'd love to hear more about that because like there's got to be some really interesting inside information about
I would
like
hope, yeah.
how weird this even probably the production was because like if you think about it like okay, so Marvel, right, which is like the epitome of like mainstream Hollywood, whatever, right? That's
Right,
what's getting made now is like you know there's probably nothing weird happening because they can't be. They're under a lot of scrutiny, they're under Disney, whatever, and they're not making anything weird, they're making mainstream shit.
right,
They're trying to make stuff that people, anybody everywhere will love, as opposed to this movie, which is going to, no matter what, have sort of the cult, following. It's not
right.
going to have that. And I absolutely love that. Like I love movies where where you just don't know where it's gonna go. Like you have no idea.
I always have a huge respect for filmmakers that are not making movies for the masses. I love movies for the most part that just are like, whether or not they're good, bad, or indifferent. I love the fact that it's like, you know what, I'm going to make the movie that I want to make. If it sells, great. If it doesn't, so be it. I made the movie I want to make.
Um, what were they called? Like the fuck it movies or something? Like
Right? Yeah.
where you just like, what? You're just like, what? This is what I want to see made. And a lot of those shows now actually in movies actually get picked up because
Oh,
people see something different and they're like, you know what? Right now that's what we need. And there was so I'd heard about there's like one of those kind of movies or shows and I watched it and it wasn't for me, but
right.
that doesn't mean like, it was like a I forgot what it was called, but it was on like I think Amazon,
Mhm.
and it was about a it was a sitcom that wasn't really a sitcom, but it was like it had the like laugh track for a little bit, and then it would go into like drama and stuff. So it was
Hmm.
like half both, and it's just like I was just like I can tell somebody is gonna love that and think
Right.
that is the most badass idea ever. It ain't gonna be me because I
Yeah.
need one or the other. So it just confuses the hell out of me. I can't watch and like my anxiety can't handle two different things like that, But I bet you would something you would like,
Yeah.
because
I to find out do you remember what that was? Because I wouldn't mind checking it out.
yeah, I forgot what it's called. I don't even know if it's on Amazon anymore because I think it was supposed to leave, but then it's on probably something else.
Right.
That's the thing with streaming these days.
Mhm.
It's like
You
that's
happen to notice also that David Carradine sang the opening credit song as well?
yes, I heard it. Yeah, when he was singing, and I was like, you can tell I can tell that's him, and everything. I kind of liked it. Oh,
That he was 100% behind the movie. I still, again, I give him incredible props for taking on a role like this in 1987, 1989, because it's like that it was definitely not something that he was known to do. So
was
I think that was really great.
also something that wasn't known to be, be seen a lot. Like nowadays a trans character kind of thing would be normal, or
Right.
whatever, and everything, and sort of we kind of. But at that time, like him doing that, I bet he was so excited.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And for an actor, that's phenomenal.
it is. But the problem is now I hear this all the time. Let's get a trans actor to play a trans character. And I'm like, well, why can't regular actors play it? And then people are like, well, because trans actors don't get to play, and I get it. Like, I get that. So,
Right.
I think that should happen. But I think sometimes, the only thing I don't like is whitewashing. If we do whitewashing, I agree with that. I'm against that. If a character, but see, then I feel like it should go the other way. I feel, and I get a lot of crap for this, and I'm probably going to get a lot of crap, period, for saying this. But if if a character is, you know, actually, there's only one exception I'll make is Nick Fury. I fucking love Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, and I don't want somebody like David Hasselhoff again.
Right.
Like I'm
Well,
okay with.
and I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I guess my concern with it is I thought the whole reason that people became actors was to create a character, create a new identity throughout art. So I've never understood the complaint where it's like, I I don't have a problem with a black actor playing a white written role or vice versa, but it's just some people definitely freak out. I don't have a problem with a straight actor playing a gay character. I don't have a problem with a gay character playing a straight character. It's the entire thing is supposed to be fantasy.
Mhm.
I just never understood the complaint about it.
Yeah, I mean Neil Patrick Harris is straighter than all of us, even though he's
Right.
gay. Like
Well,
he's
don't get me wrong. There's exceptions. I definitely don't want to see. I don't want to see Brad Pitt play Shaft.
right.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
But I wouldn't mind seeing Idris Elba play Bond. You
Yeah,
know, like I like. The only thing I don't like is I heard that they're making him a little bit more feminine now and taking away sort of what made Bond Bond, in my opinion. Like I think what made Bond Bond was that like he was this badass, like gruff dude, and Idris Elba like is that, in my opinion. But it
keep in mind there was even a backlash initially when Daniel Craig took on the role because they kind of turned Bond almost into a sociopath at that point. I love that idea, but a lot of like diehard Bond fans were pissed about that. It's like, well, it's a different take, you know.
and it's also new stories, so it's kind of like Batman. Batman doesn't follow exactly the comic books now. They have their own stories, so all these different people playing Batman can play Batman, or whatever. I like that.
Hmm.
I like
I mean,
seeing,
like,
even though George Clooney was not the best Batman, he was the one of the best fucking Bruce Waynes.
yeah, yeah.
I
I remember what was it when that horrible Ghostbusters movie came out, the all female one, and everybody was convinced. Well, if you don't like it, then you're against women. It's like, no, I have no problem with the women playing Ghostbusters. I just want a decent script. There's nothing funny about this thing. There's nothing enjoyable about this movie. You know.
Well, it was like Elizabeth Banks blaming misogynists or whatever for why Charlie's Angels didn't do well or whatever. Well, I don't know if it was misogynist, but it was like it
No,
was.
no, I remember that. Well, I guess my answer to Elizabeth Banks is why did the first two Charlie's Angels film do well?
Yeah,
It does. I mean, yeah, that kind of kills the argument.
yeah, because well, and it was to me honestly it was because they had three of the hottest women in like the world at that time playing Charlie's Angels, and I don't even remember who played in the new one, because it was like.
I'll, I'll be honest with you. I don't even necessarily think that was the case. I think that, to be quite frank with you, the original or the two earlier '90s Charlie's Angels films were fun scripts. They're bubblegum movies. They're throwaway movies, but they were fun.
Mhm.
I tried to sit through Elizabeth Banks. What was it? Charlie's Angels movie. I got 20 minutes in and it was horrible. It was unwatchable. And I'm like, I don't want to see this.
And so anyway, like yeah, so I mean, there's so many different movies right now that are sort of getting that kind of thing, and this movie, Sonny Boy, had a character who I think could definitely fit into today's society, and this would seem semi-normal, maybe,
I
like.
I 100% disagree with you on that.
You
And
don't think so?
the reason I say that is this. Unfortunately, I think the best way I can describe this is that like the backlash right now with the Dahmer series on Netflix. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the trans community and gay community are upset about the show because they feel that it paints the gay community in a poor light. And I don't. Simply because of the fact that A, it's for the most part, not exactly, but it's fact based. And B, you can't have it both ways. You know, it's like if you want to have, I think that we've reached strides as far as where we are with color, with sexual orientation, with all kinds of different anomalies. But you can't just make every character a good character. Dahmer was a horrible human being. You have to represent that, you know.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think a lot of what people are saying, and I get it. Like the families don't want to see like Dahmer, doing that. And I was gonna do a review with Jackie on it, and I don't know if we're still gonna do it or not, just because there's just a lot of anger toward it now that like maybe was there from the start, or whatever. But
But
like
again,
a lot of
to me, that doesn't make any sense. This series concentrated so much on the victims' past as well as how it affected their families. I know that it's got to be, and this is speaking to somebody. I think you and I talked about this. My ex-wife, her uncle was Dahmer's first victim. Okay,
well, that
so
sucks.
yeah. And that being said, it's like I know it's got to be incredibly painful for their families to well, they're going to avoid it. I would rather that's taken in a respectful way, the way I feel that they've handled the Dahmer series, versus a lot of these previous movies that only concentrated on the murders themselves. You know,
Hmm.
I don't
Well,
know. At the end of the day, it's like there are things that. I mean, there's obviously a market for this. There's obviously an interest in this. It's a shame, but it's news. It is what it is. You know.
well, it's funny because like, it's bringing to light something that was tragic and terrible, but it's old. Like this isn't new, like this isn't something that just literally just happened or whatever. This is old news, and people, I feel like a lot of people are acting like this is, oh my God, I've never heard of this guy Dahmer,
Well,
like I'm like, really?
it's because they haven't. A lot of the audience that is watching Dahmer, for some reason, just were not educated on this case. Time makes things disappear, you know. But I mean, again, I think we've kind of become a society of a little too. And again, I'm not. This is no disrespect to the families. I'm talking about people that are outside of the families, people that are
Hmm.
just as new content. I think that we've kind of reached a point where I don't recall the families of Henry Lee Lucas's victims bitching about Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. I don't recall the victims of. I don't recall people losing their minds over the 6 other incarnations of the Jeffrey Dahmer story. For some reason, this really got it, and I think it's the time period that we live in.
Yeah, so people are, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't remember anybody. I mean, I think because, that's the other thing too, is like people are talking about it a lot more. And I think people weren't talking about the other Dahmer stories and things,
Hmm.
but then it's getting to the point where, oh God, they made a joke about Dahmer, like a line in Katy Perry's song, best line in the fucking song, which is, she's a beast. I call her Karma. She'll eat your heart out like Jeffrey Dahmer, And I thought that was funny,
Amazing rapping skills on Yi. Come
Yeah.
on. That's sad. But again,
No,
nobody
it
bitched.
wasn't Ye. Actually, it was Juicy J,
Well, but again, that's what I mean. Nobody said a fucking word about that when that song came out. Now
Hmm.
all of a sudden, people are losing their minds. It's like, come on.
It's like, how dare they do that they sing this song, because we do live in a cancel culture area, where all of a sudden everything's under like a microscope and everything. And I'm hoping that things sort of change, and they will. I mean, things will change, or I mean, because it can only just get worse, I guess,
I'll
so
give you. Um, Last year when we released Brimstone Incorporated, I was reached out to by some douchebag that runs a some type of YouTube podcast, some kind of thing. I'm not going to say his name,
it
but
was
he had,
Jonathan Moody.
no, it was not John. It was somebody that was good. So I'm getting a little ass kissing there. But he had reached out and wanted to have me as a guest on his show. And I'm like, sure. He's like, so I sent him screeners of the movie, and he reached out to me and basically said, I'm sorry, we rethought things, and we're really offended by this, and we really don't think that this would be good for our show.
Wait, did he not know what Her Name Was Krista was about?
Well, no, it gets worse. That's what I assumed it was Her Name Was Krista. He didn't watch Her Name Was Krista. Keep in mind, they replaced my show with a discussion on the Netflix or Hulu or whatever it was series Fresh. Okay.
Yikes.
So I contact him. I'm like, what's the problem? So apparently they got a whole 7 minutes into Brimstone is what they were freaking out about. They got 7 minutes into Brimstone, and Drew's character makes a Weinstein reference, and that set them off. And I'm like, and I just told him, I'm like, I think you're being absolutely ridiculous.
I forgot the reference because it's been a while since I watched it.
Trying to psych himself up to meet with people, and he's like, think Weinstein, he's like, I gotta call that guy. And it was just a joke. It literally was,
well, because that guy was from hell.
Exactly. I'm like, you do realize the character is supposed to be from hell, right?
Right.
But honestly, please don't watch my movies. I don't want you to see my movies. You're just going to get offended. And obviously you're going to get offended by everything.
Oh God, if you saw Krista, oh my goodness.
Can you imagine if that was
the first one he saw? Oh man. Yep. You definitely, yep.
There's no way. But it's like,
you think you're a really fucked up person for doing this.
Oh, well, that's another thing that bothers me about where the state of things are. And I don't mean to sound like a fucking fossil, but when we made Krista and we were starting to get the word out on it, one of the things that I was terrified, because it was the beginnings of the whole cancel culture thing, I was just waiting for somebody, and thank God nobody's brought this up, but I was just waiting for somebody to go, oh, this movie's pro-rape because she was dead and he didn't get her consent. It's like, did you watch the movie? I'm like, this person is obviously psychologically damaged and he doesn't want to do this, but she's, in his mind, she's the one that's basically asking him to
I think that's why nobody did bring that up, or whatever, because yeah, she's there telling him the whole time, go ahead and do it, even though it's in his head, or whatever. He's doing it, so I don't know. People are so fucking weird these days about everything, and they, but it's fine. It's the way our culture is right now. And it's because I truly believe it's because of my generation, unfortunately, who are raising children who are like, now things have changed, people are whatever. And I'm like, why is because maybe it's not my generation, because my generation still hates this shit.
Right.
Like I'm 40, so like people my age are like, why is all this happening? But it's got to be like their children's children that are like becoming.
Can you imagine like comedians like Andrew Dice Clay, Sam Kinison, people like that trying to make careers now?
They get slapped like Will Smith.
I'm shocked that they just announced that they're rebooting what was it, American Pie, because it's like, realistically, it's one of those things where I'm sure there's plenty of stuff in the original
he didn't get consent from the pie.
Right.
Now they're going to complain about that. That's what the next complaint's going to be, that, he raped a pie,
Right.
and stuff. So they're not going to be able to put that in there. So why is it going to be called American Pie? It
Yeah.
can't be called that anymore because there's no pie. But see, that's the thing. That was what's great about American Pie, was like, that was like, when you like look back at all the other, there's American Pie, then American Pie 2, then American Wedding, then American Reunion, right? But American Pie, when you did American Pie 1 and 2, when you thought about American Pie, you're like, dude, fuck the pie. Like, that
Right.
was like, right? Like, that was what this title is about, right? In a
Well,
way.
wrong. There were plenty of things in the 80s that, looking back on it, it's like, I mean, things that
Animal
I,
House is like 70s, right? Like,
well,
or
think about Revenge of the Nerds.
Revenge of the Nerds.
I
Yeah.
love that movie, but at the end of the day, I mean, that's kind of skeevy.
There's a lot
um,
of skeevy stuff back in those times and everything. But
you know,
one of my favorite movies, freaking Fast Times. Very skeevy movie at times, or whatever. Even the girl is skeevy,
right,
like, I mean, which was equal opportunity skeeviness, which was, awesome for that. But,
right.
I don't know. I feel like, things are just not fun anymore.
I
And
agree.
it's because people have a voice now that they didn't have in the 90s and 80s, that they have now on these social media sites, which wasn't even there. Like, okay, so Facebook, MySpace, all of that existed when Entourage was around, right?
Mhm.
And nobody was complaining about anything Entourage. Then maybe that they didn't like the show or whatever. That was the only complaint that they were having. But there wasn't any complaint about the way that these people are acting, because this is the way people acted, you
Right.
know. But now looking back at it, even Doug Ellen said he can't do Entourage now.
Hmm.
Entourage can't exist. So
Right. Oh,
um
I'll give you a perfect example too. I I adore Richard Elfman. I think that Forbidden Zone is just an absolutely incredible movie. Okay.
mhm.
He recently brought out a new special edition Blu-ray. He acquired the rights and he put out
We
his
did Forbidden Zone, by the way, at an indie film cafe.
oh did-
Yeah, we did. Paul showed me, and I think Lenore, who was his roommate at the time,
okay.
and it was such a weird fucking movie, but I
I
loved
love
it.
the I absolutely love the movie. But the problem that I have is that with this new special edition, they basically deleted or they've George Lucas the beginning to
Oh,
where now the pimp character at the beginning that discovers the Forbidden Zone and sells his house goes from blackface to now he's clown face. Now, according to Richard Elfman, this is how he always intended. Again, I love Richard Elfman. Do I believe that excuse? No, I don't believe that for a second.
I think, yeah, I
I
think
think
that.
one of the things where at the time this was socially acceptable and funny. To be quite honest with you, the idea was supposed to be kind of a throwback to the old 30s films, and that was very, very rampant during those times. It's not necessarily a racist move. It's just it was emulating that, and I think that at some point somebody bitched about it, so he, in an attempt to not get canceled with the re-release, basically rewrote history. That's very dangerous. That's incredibly dangerous.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because now that means, like,
If
that's what
I'm
people
wrong
are
on
going to expect for you
right,
to put out a film.
if I'm wrong on this, and this was always Richard Altman's uh, 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 intent all along, then I'm an asshole. I'm sorry. Do I believe it? No, I don't. And this is coming from somebody who loves Forbidden Zone and loves Richard Elfman. But I'm saying that no, this is not the way this was supposed to be.
Um, Now, interestingly enough, in season 3 of Indie Film Cafe, I was living in LA, and Paul was in Virginia, so we couldn't do, and we didn't have Zoom in the early stages. It didn't come until like maybe 4 or 5 months into 2020 that we started being able to do that. So I was, you know, I had we decided to watch Zombie Cop,
Okay.
which as you
I'm
were in
sorry.
it and
I
everything.
apologize.
Yeah, see, and so did J.R. Bookwalter and Matthew Jason Walsh and stuff when I looked up things about it. But um I watched it. So I picked that movie. I remembered I liked it. I thought it was a goofy when I originally watched it. I watched it with a girl who was Muslim,
Hmm.
and she's not practicing Muslim, but she was Muslim, and her boyfriend at the time, and I think he wasn't actually her boyfriend; they were just friends at the time. But then we watched it, and it was most uncomfortable stuff with some of the stuff that was going on because there's sort of like a poo. Style things, and that's another thing. Like Simpsons, Simpsons were very South Park. Are they gonna or would they go back and George Lucas some of their jokes? Fuck no. They're not
Right.
going to do that. And they're never like they would rather not do anything than in the film industry than change who the fuck they are, and I
Right.
love that. And so there's certain people like it's always fun, sunny in Philadelphia. They're not going to go, okay, we're going to fix, change everything of who we are because why? Like
Well, but if you'll notice too, I think that that's why shows like It's Always Sunny are successful because they go against the grain. And I think there's enough of an audience that are tired of this PC bullshit that's how they get their audience.
Well, see, there's the thing. I was just talking to my friend, was it last night, and we were hanging out. We were watching Andor for a little bit, and but we were talking before about HBO Max, you
Hmm.
know, and he was upset because of all the, the like cutting Batgirl and stuff like that. And I was
Right.
like, you do realize like a lot of what, and I get it. Like, why not let it be seen? But like it was a very sort of, from what I've understood, it's very woke movie where they were trying to get rid of the this is rumors because I haven't seen the movie, I can't say, but the rumors were that they were trying to get rid of Batman and Superman completely and have it be all girls, all women. And that's all like and all women of different colors and different, everything, right? And sexual orientations, everything, which is perfect for characters that are like that, or you create those characters. You don't force this on the whole world and say that they don't need men and that men are terrible people because like why are we trying to fight each other on this stuff? I don't get it
See,
you know
sadly, where that story would not surprise me. I don't think that had anything to do with the cancellation of Batgirl. I think what it had to do with, honestly, was the fact that the studio stood to make far more money with canceling it than they did with releasing it.
yeah, with a tax write-off,
With the
but
tax write-off was now to I mean to kind of put things into perspective though, we already had that with the Harley Quinn movie, and it was awful, and nobody cared for it, and
I tried
Harley Quinn,
watching it and I was like, ooh.
yeah,
Mm.
it's terrible. It's absolutely painful. Now that being said, it's like obviously it's not necessarily the character's fault because both of the Suicide Squad films, whether or not you like them or not, did very well at the box office.
Hmm.
Harley Quinn so much, and it's basically because it comes down to the writing.
Comes out of writing. James Gunn can write.
Mhm.
The original writer of the other Suicide Squad, I liked. I mean, I liked the first two Suicide Squads. I mean, I was
I
kind of
like James Gunn one. I'm not gonna lie, I thought the other one was kind of dog shit,
I
but
don't know. It had some moments I thought, it had some really good moments. I didn't know. I liked it. Like I saw it in the theater and it was like, whoa, this is awesome. I haven't seen it since, but I remember like going like, okay, this is fun to me.
mm,
But I'm guessing you're not like, I mean, I'm a huge Marvel and or DC fan, so
I
actually I'm more Marvel than DC.
I've
You know,
literally seen two Marvel movies. I try and stay away from them as much as humanly possible.
because
I'm
you
not.
hate Disney, so I get
Well,
it.
it's not even necessarily that I hate Disney. It's just I've never been a big superhero guy.
Mm.
Like I'll be honest with you, the only ones that I saw were the Guardians films, and
Mm.
I enjoy both of those. Now, obviously, I've taken the kids to like all the. I don't even, are the Spider-Man movies Marvel now, or are they still Fox? What I can't keep them straight.
So okay, so they're not Fox, they're Sony properties, and they are the Spider-Man movies themselves are MCU-ish, stuff, right? They're working with Marvel
Right,
Studios and stuff. The other ones are like Venom and all the other anti-hero characters that they have the rights to. Those are all DC. So
right.
they're all like Sony properties and stuff. And honestly, I really don't, they're trying to make a universe and it's not holding up. And
Right.
the same thing, Sony's really good with Ghostbusters right now. They're doing like because they've got Jason Reitman taking over and
Right.
doing it the right way, the Reitman way.
Hmm.
Um, and I like that. And I'm like really excited. Like, oh my God, they made some huge announcements recently, and I'm like, this is gonna be so much fun. Um, the what is it? Um, so the other stuff, like they have the Men in Black franchise, and they haven't really done anything good with that
Hmm.
yet.
National was horrifyingly bad.
I didn't even watch it. I saw
Uh,
the previews, and I just was like, I can't.
I mean,
I
part three wasn't great, but it was watchable. But literally, international was just dog shit, just
Yeah.
absolutely terrible.
So I'm hoping that they reboot it again or whatever. And
We are
then
so off topic right now. You know that, right?
I, what were we talking about? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Sonny Boy, the movie behind me.
Final
Um,
thought. So you enjoyed the film, is what I'm
I
asking.
did. Like I said, it was weird and it was different, and like nowadays, and I was surprised. Well, I'm not surprised it's on Tubi because Tubi pretty much puts allows anything on it. Like pretty much they don't have they don't go, oh man, this is too weird. We can't have this on Tubi.
Right.
In fact, I think they like weird because they got the Bigfoot versus Krampus movies and stuff, or
Right.
they don't care. They'll just put out whatever. If I guess you have to, license it with them or whatever.
Mm.
But are your films on Tubi? Like
We are.
your newer ones?
We just went through Film Hub, and we're starting to gather. From my rep at Film Hub is basically saying that it's going to take a little time, but yeah, I mean it's only a matter of time. We should be on Tubi within the next couple of months on both films.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good. I co-wrote one of the shorts for Brimstone
that's
Incorporated.
right.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to point people to that because that's what I do now is like, oh, if you want to see something I'm in or worked on, go to Tubi. So
Right.
it's a great there's Plex TV, but this was on Tubi and I was
Um,
really excited to see that.
Brimstone is on Plex right now, as well as Amazon, Vimeo. What is it? Google Play. But yeah, hopefully within the next couple of months we should hit Tubi.
Tubi's where it's at, man. I hate to say it. That's where for the 31 days of indie horror, I mainly pick Tubi movies
Right.
because, just why not? Like
Mhm.
they're simple, people can watch them and then review them, and then anybody who wants to check our stuff out later can watch it too. Like go to Tubi, watch the movie, then watch our review later if they want to, or get spoiled because I mean we spoil the shit out of this movie.
Right.
So if you haven't seen it, then that's you sh-
Yeah. Should have watched it. I don't know what to tell you.
yeah, you should have watched it first.
Mm,
But we don't have to tell you that. You should have known that.
mm.
Just yeah. So I liked Sunny Boy. I thought it was good. I would want the Blu-ray at some point. You
You
know,
definitely should pick it up. It looks nice, especially considering, like I said before, both Laserdisc and VHS were full frame, and this is a movie you need to see widescreen. I mean, it's very cinematic. It's got some just absolutely gorgeous shots
interesting.
of New Mexico. It's definitely worthwhile.
So it was widescreen on my Tubi on the thing. So I'm wondering if that wasn't pan and scan, was it, or anything like where they?
I checked them both out, and yeah, they basically have the same rip that Shout Factory had.
So they must have got it from Shout
I'm assuming.
themselves. I'm assuming so. Cool. So, because Shout sometimes puts stuff on Tubi, but sometimes they don't because their Shout and Scream Factory labels are like a little bit more expensive on Blu-ray, and they don't want, I mean, why?
Well, I don't think that Shout has the rights to Sonny Boy anymore. I don't think that's probably. They probably whoever currently owns the rights are the ones that probably popped it on Tubi.
Interesting.
Hmm.
And then who has the rights? Wonder if it might have gone back to the original writer or whatever because they have that new like deal. If it's like 30 years, 35, 30 years, something like that old, it reverts back to the original writer.
Right.
The rights do. So that's the problem with fucking Friday the 13th right now, man. That's a whole nother conversation that can last a whole nother show. So, well, anyway, well, thank you so much for coming on the show,
Oh, for having me
and
is always a
yeah,
good time.
it's always a good time. So and thank you for sharing this movie with me because I hate to say it, if you hadn't recommended it, it wouldn't have even popped up in my recommendations like
See?
on Tubi. Like it's not something that like I would have sought after,
Right.
myself like normal.
Well, it's
So
a lost movie. It absolutely is. So I'm always happy to turn people onto it.
yeah, and I hope more people see it. I hope this review sort of gets people out there going, or even people going, hey, I know Sonny Boy, let me
Right.
check out this review. I always love that. So if you are one of those people, thank you. And if you stay to the end, I know, wow, thank you so much. And like I'm surprised because we did go off topic, but
We
it's
really went off topic.
okay. That's normal. So. All right. Well, thank you so much. And everybody else, thank you guys for listening or watching and let us know what you guys think. Have a good one. Until tomorrow. Bye.
Bye bye.
All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of 30. Hold on. Let me start over.
Okay.
Damn it.